A zero-waste home goods store sounds too good to be true. Our roadways are lined with strip malls and box stores of familiar brands and names to satisfy our wants, but what if we want products that offer more sustainable options? Body products that contain all natural ingredients over toxins, baby products that avoid plastics, gift items that aren't packaged in materials that can't be recycled, a store where I could bring my own container to fill up with healthy household cleaning supplies. Does such a place exist? Well, the road brings us next to a place that makes such claims, and I want us to discover whether or not this is a reality or more of just the same.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Ripple on the Road. I am Mike Shodroff. I am the founder and CEO of the Ripple Center, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization who believes that we have some broken systems today in capitalism, particularly as it pertains to human equity and dignity and environmental stewardship. Our mission is to mold, create, and promote organizations, businesses, individuals that are actively disrupting and changing those systems so that people and planet have the same place as profit in the equation. Which brings me here today to Summit, New Jersey, where I am at the zero waste refill shop known as Sustainable House. I am with founder and CEO Jeanette Spezio, and I appreciate you giving me the time to talk to you today.
And I appreciate, Mike, you giving us the time. It's so exciting to be here, and I'm excited for all the really cool projects you've got going on with both Ripple on the Road and the Ripple Center.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off with a big question.
Okay.
And essentially, I would like to know your relationship with sustainability. Because, when I look around, this is not your typical retail store. So clearly this is something that's, in your soul, who you are. Where did that come from and how has it evolved to the point where we are, where we're sitting today?
That's an interesting question. It is a big one. I don't know that I always know the answer to that. I think it just starts with where your roots are. So I was a first generation American. My parents came here when they were 30. They had a suitcase each and not much money. My mother grew up on a farm, and my dad, both my parents had food insecurities, including my mother. And my mother worked in a health food store. She was a master seamstress, and my dad had an organic garden. He worked for IBM, and I don't know, we just learned to do things for ourselves. And it's funny because at any point in my life, you could have put two products in front of me, and I would have always picked the natural one, the natural fibers, whether it would have been cotton over polyester, whether it was wood over plastic, you name it. I just had a love of things from nature. Because my parents had nothing and they came from Europe, they really wanted to travel and see the country. That was really important for them. And so my dad borrowed one of those big old canvas tents, and we went out west and south and north and camped in lots of the national parks. And so I think for me, it's really just a love of nature. And I think inherently, I just understood that things that are from nature go back to nature, and things that aren't become landfill. And I don't think that I realized and had all the dots connected until about 7 years ago, when I read a book and really started to learn about the zero waste movement, and just everything just fell together.
So how did that translate into starting a business?
So I worked in corporate for 30 years and retired. And around that time, I was looking at my laundry detergent, and I thought, I bought a product that seems to be green and clean. It's got green labeling. It's a company that we think of as green and sustainable and environmentally friendly. And, it said all the ingredients were plant derived. And I tried to research what each of them were. And I just, after like more than an hour of, searching, I was done. And I thought, I'm a maker. I make things. I sewed all my life. I cooked. I gardened. I'm going to learn how to make detergent. And I did. And we still make that detergent. I use it every single load of laundry that I do. It cleans really well, and I know what's in it. It's got organic coconut oil that we saponify, make into soap, super washing soda, A-rated by the Environmental Working Group, and baking soda. That's it. And that was the beginning. And I just thought, if I have this challenge, maybe somebody else does too, and maybe they're working in a job where they don't have time to make their own laundry detergent, right? It's not for everybody. And that just started. Then I did everyday napkins, and then I made some sponges, and I felted wool dryer balls, and it just took off.
So now, when you did this, was this for your home, for your house? How did you then say, I'm going to start and go to a farmer's market? Or did you have individuals that came and visited and say, hey, I'd like that too? How did that take place?
I knew I knew I had a next chapter. I was really interested in giving back. I had been on the board of Greater Newark Conservancy for a while, and I just wanted to give back and make a difference. And so I really did think if I have a need for these products, somebody else will too. And I thought, I'm going to do a couple of holiday markets and pop-ups, and it just, in my brain, I knew that farmers markets were the place. So I started probably in like a September timeframe, did my first show or, like pop-up market in November, December. And in January, I applied for the Westfield Farmers Market, got in, and I've done farmers markets ever since. So I've been doing them for 5 or 6 years, and I've done a lot of them.
Okay.
And I currently do 2 every single week.
What are some of the products you bring to the market? And what, I'm assuming you have consumers and customers that are looking for you, they know you're there, or they're
Yes.
familiar with what you're doing. What is it also with some of the products you're bringing? What's the education look like for new customers?
So sometimes new customers come to the store and spend a couple hours here. That's not hard to do, and it's not that big a place. I think that, so at first with farmers markets, they want you to bring stuff you make. So I really started with the things I made, and I had to convince some of the markets that sustainability was really at their core. The Summit Farmers Market only took food and farmers. I don't produce food, and I'm not a farmer, so I didn't fit. So it took me a year of lobbying to get in, and I did, and it's been a great partnership and relationship. They were one of the first places to go plastic bag free in the state. This was like, roll the clocks back like 5 years. And so I would bring the things I made, like laundry detergent. We made counter cleaners, dishwasher pods, everyday napkins, produce bags, lunch bags, sponges, wipes of all sorts. And then I wanted more than that, right? You can't make everything you need. If you want a bamboo toothbrush, I'm not the one who's going to make it. So we started to buy other products, and we found other vendors that we really liked, and I knew I wanted a store. I knew I wanted a roof over my head and, calm conditions on a rainy day. And so it was just a matter of time. So I sort of built the business and created the website and built a customer base, and then found a location and opened a store.
Now you opened the store, I believe, in 2020.
I did.
Can you tell us what that was like as a business owner, having to open a store and then shut it down because of the pandemic?
So, everybody says you learn the most from failures, and there were some failures in there. So opening a store into the pandemic, we opened February 15th of that year that the pandemic started. And at the time, my husband was with his daughter in Italy. And if anybody remembers the pandemic, Italy was like a little epicenter going on. And so we were much more attuned to pandemic is coming and it's going to be really bad than perhaps your average person. So we opened February 15th, and by the end of February, I would say the doors were closed to customers, but we weren't closed. So I just pivoted. I'm a seamstress, and I made masks. And I actually, you can go back through the Instagram, but I recommended that people wear masks before the CDC did. And it was really easy. So the CDC was saying, if you're sick, you should wear one. If you're around somebody who might be sick, you should wear one. You looked back at history and saw that in prior pandemics, everybody wore cloth masks. And so I was like, this is a no-brainer. We should all be wearing them. So I just started, I bought a ton of elastic at the moment where it was starting to get hard to buy it. And I made 7,000 masks my first year.
Wow.
And so that was a win, and it was a loss. So it was a win because it helped fund inventory, it kept us alive, it kept our name out there. But I lost sight of the overall mission, right? Healthy people, healthy home, healthy planet. That's our tagline. And for us, it's really about always doing better. And what I found was I made assumptions. I figured if you build it, they will come. They won't. I figured that if they bought masks from me and got to know who we were, they'd come buy refills. They didn't, which isn't entirely true. We had plenty of people that did, but overall, I wasn't building the zero waste sustainable part of the business. Now, I still believe that cloth and cotton masks have a sustainability element. Ours became fully compostable except the elastic. And I could have made them without elastic, but nobody wanted that. So, there is this balance of what do people need, what are people willing to do, and sort of what's the best option. So we thought we made some really helpful masks, and we helped the community. So it was a great experience, but it was also, I could have focused more on this.
Now, can you just explain that? Because when most people think of compostable, they're thinking of food.
Yeah.
So how can a cloth mask be considered compostable?
Sure. So, and I'm just going to also give a little disclaimer. There's lots of ways to compost, right? There's vermicomposting and backyard and industrial, and then there's things that are similar to composting like anaerobic digestion. They all have rules. Follow your rules. So there's going to be plenty of composting facilities that won't take certain items, whether it be a compostable dish or a piece of cotton. And there's good reason not to take cotton for most of them. So all the fabrics in the store are all cotton or natural fibers. If there's no label, we test them. And I only stitch with cotton thread. So everything you and I are wearing that was commercially produced does not have cotton thread. So even if we were wearing all cotton, it's polyester or nylon thread. That is not compostable. That is the equivalent of a microplastic. And so we made our cotton masks with cotton fabric, cotton thread, and that was all from nature, can go back to nature. And what we actually recommend, so composting it has to be able to break down into something that nourishes the soil within a short period of time. That's your baseline definition. And you might argue that the dyes in cotton aren't really great to nourish the soil, so I do actually recommend that people be careful with that. But if you have natural dyes, not a lot of dyes, very washed out things, I'm not troubled by putting it in the compost. It's still, to me, a whole lot better than some of the bioplastics out there that are getting composted. That's a whole nother story, but if it's all from nature, it can go back to nature, and the idea is that it feeds the soil and creates, nourishment for future plants.
Sounds good. So now let's get back to your tagline,
Okay.
right? Healthy house,
Yep.
healthy people, healthy planet.
Yep.
The pandemic is starting to come to an end, and now you need to bring customers into the door.
And we did the whole time, right? We did sell refills the whole time. We got our first 55-gallon drum right after we opened, a few months after we opened. So we were always focused on the same thing, but we didn't have enough business to sustain us. It was really the masks that kept everybody working. I think that I learned the importance of marketing and social media. You learn a lot along the way, and I can tell you with assurance that every single day somebody comes in here because of TikTok, and every single day because of Instagram. And we never wanted to sell online. I'm not a big online seller. We wrap everything plastic free, and we ship all over. But we have over 600 items online, and we think that if you live in a community where there isn't a zero waste store, we've got so many great solutions. And supporting small businesses is really helpful. Social media brings people in, and it's a great teacher. And I can see a total linkage between what we post and what people come in here for. So I noticed that laundry detergent sales were down. We make a lot of laundry detergent. We sell lots of them. We have 8 different options. We have more than one brand. We have more than one type, powder, liquid, et cetera, and sales were down. And I've been posting for a solid year about polyvinyl alcohol and the laundry strips and the pods. So anything that goes into your dishwasher, toilet, or washing machine that has what seems like a little plastic coating or is a vinyl-like sheet contains polyvinyl alcohol. It is a plastic. It's its chemical definition. It is plastic. And so I noticed that even my greenest friends were buying them because they would ask me about them. And we've been posting for over a year about it. It's plastic. So I started to post more about it and what the alternatives and solutions were. And people would come in and say, okay, I want to try your laundry detergent. I'm interested in your liquid. And we got specific. We started to post a little bit about how some of the commercial products were rated by the Environmental Working Group. And some of the chemicals in there and the phthalates and the just stuff that fragrances, the things that you don't want touching your skin. And so we saw a correlation, and now laundry detergent sales are up. And we don't post specifically to increase sales. Today's post was about natural cleaners: vinegar, baking soda, superwashing soda, soap. Yes, we sell all those things, but if people bought all those things, our business would go down. We think bar soap is a great way to go. We think foaming hand soap is a good way to go. We came out with a foaming hand soap pump that means you need 90% less liquid soap. We didn't do that to enrich our bottom line, and you don't have to buy a special soap for a foaming pump. Any soap works in it, and we teach people how to do that. So social media is a great teacher, and I think it brings tremendous awareness. I have so many people that didn't know things were toxic. They didn't know that certain ingredients were bad or products might not be great. They didn't know how to use some of the green and natural products. So we find that people need a lot of educating, and social media is a great place to do that.
I want to go back to one of the items you were just talking about and dig just a little bit deeper, because again, we've talked on other episodes about greenwashing.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that you have to overcome, especially if you're trying to do the right thing. And you mentioned the laundry strips and pods and polyvinyl alcohol being one of the ingredients. And even so, people will say, but it doesn't come in plastic containers. It's cardboard, it's lightweight, it's a strip, I put it in. So what if there's a little plastic? How does that relate back to the healthy people part of the equation?
So I'm going to come right out and say that a few things. Every one of those pods and strips is polyvinyl alcohol. It is a plastic. Why are we all against plastics in the first place? We're against plastics because we know they pollute our ocean. We know that we're ingesting them. And when I say ingest, I mean breathing, drinking, eating, absorbing. So we're ingesting plastics all the time because things like big plastic water jugs, laundry detergent jugs, etc., are finding their way into our waterways. Globally, less than 9% of plastics are recycled. In the US, less than 6%. And I tell people all the time, not a lack of diligence. You might be very good at putting things into the recycle bin, but it doesn't mean that there's a market for it. Big Oil knew there wasn't when they created plastic. They knew it was cheaper to buy new plastic than to recycle old. So we're against plastic because it ends up finding its way into waterways, breaking down, getting smaller and smaller, being ingested by the fish, and getting into our water supply. So if we're against plastic because it breaks down in the environment into tinier plastic, why are we putting a dissolvable plastic into the water stream directly? So if you're allergic to nuts, would you drink nuts dissolved in water? Because I wouldn't. And if we don't want to drink plastic, why would we dissolve a plastic in water and put it out there? So 2 points. If you go to Wikipedia, at a 5% concentration level, polyvinyl alcohol is toxic to fish. 5% concentration, right on Wikipedia. I've read about 60 pages of studies on polyvinyl alcohol, and there's different types, and I'm just going to come right out and say, I might be wrong. It's always that possibility. I think that we should proceed with caution, not with abandon, in something that in matters of our health. And so they did a study, and they found that these amphimores in the absolute depths of the Pacific Basin, they found polyvinyl alcohol. And so, and that was a study from a few years ago, before it was this US craze to have more convenience around our laundry and our dishwashers and soon to be toilets. There's now toilet strips. So, for me, health means less plastic. And it means less plastic because plastic is petroleum and chemicals. And if you start to look at the chemicals in plastic, whether it's the phenols, BPA, bisphenol A, or the other related phenols, bisphenol S or F, et cetera, they have they're linked to all kinds of health issues. And if you start to look up carcinogens, you find that a lot of chemicals that we use in our everyday life are carcinogenic, including some of the ones that are in plastics. And plastic is colorful, it's rigid, it's hard, it's pliable, it's all these different things, and that comes from the chemicals. And I know that everything in life is a chemical, including water. I'm talking about the toxic chemicals that upset me. And so if we want to take health into our own hands, it is about reducing plastics that both leach gases and microplastics come into our environment. And so plastics aren't good, and a lot of the toxins in a lot of our products aren't good. And I think we just need to kind of take life into our own hands and make sure that we are finding the least toxic choices. We wonder why people have so many chronic diseases.
Now, as a woman-owned business,
Yep.
and as a mom,
Yep.
What do you think about in terms of, new parents, and how should they be thinking about the newest additions to their families that they're bringing home, and maybe what they are exposing them to?
It's really hard because when you're a new mom, you have no time. You have family, home, baby, yourself, maybe an external job on top of all that. You're really busy, and unfortunately that's the hardest time for women to try to find the best products. I think the journey almost needs to start either right before, or you need a minute, because it's not easy. There's nobody helping. So greenwashing is when these companies suggest that things are environmentally friendly. There's usually green labeling. There's some kind of pictures that look like certifications that may or may not be certifications. They try to use words like green, eco, earth-friendly, natural, and they use them in very careful ways. Like all these laundry sheets, they all say plastic-free packaging. But if you look at the actual manufacturer's write-up, they rarely say plastic-free. Another seller, like a large marketplace, might do a write-up that says plastic-free, but usually the manufacturer doesn't. So for new moms, greenwashing is the hardest thing. I just think that if you follow like your North Star, like have a guiding light that says stick with natural products. And that means just understand everything you're using. And I think it's far better to just get rid of all the cleaning stuff in your house and all of that, and just kind of start with the basics, the baking soda, vinegar, and come to zero waste stores like ours and talk to people who've done some of the research, talk to moms, join moms groups that are following kind of holistic living experiences. But it takes a lot of research. I do think the Environmental Working Group is really helpful to look up products, and you'll be shocked when you start to look up some of the things you use. There's apps like Think Dirty that evaluate beauty care and things like that. One of my favorite books was Beth Terry's My Plastic-Free Life and How I Plastic-Free Life and How I Kicked the Plastic Habit. Yeah, it's an encyclopedia of knowledge, and you can just Google and look stuff up pretty easily, but greenwashing is something we all have to look for. In my corporate career, my first job was an auditor. And auditors are taught not to trust, right? And then I was a compliance officer for 30 years, right? So if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And we're such a convenient society, and we're paying for it by polluting our planet. And this is all linked. And so for me, if you want to make a difference for the planet and for your family's health and for your own health, all those things are linked. Just make better choices every time you're making a decision. So you're you're redecorating a room in your house. Think about the paint you use. Think about the rugs you're bringing in. Think about all that stuff. And you find that on our social media account, we cover a pretty broad set of topics. We're not all about like selling one product. We're really about teaching, educating, and talking about how we live at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I obviously get the sense of what's not in the store. And what I love, I think you point out in some of your material that you are not looking to make a fortune. You're looking to make an impact and a difference.
Yeah.
And therefore, you won't bring certain things into the store that might make money for you.
Yes. So you and I you'll really appreciate this. Having been on the board of a nonprofit and having studied that nonprofits have a lot of challenges. It's really hard to pay the leaders. It's hard to get the best talent because you can't pay the most. And you're always under scrutiny about your administrative costs. So I was very conscientiously not wanting to do a nonprofit, right? I could have started a co-op or something like that. But I thought, I really want to start a for-profit, but I also want to make sure that at the end of the day, our prices are as low as can be so that we encourage people to make changes in their lifestyle. Now, that said, overall, we actually do generally sell some of our products lower than many of the other smaller stores because I can. And we still have a pretty good markup for a lot of our things, but we have significant overhead, and I want to get to a place where our employees have health benefits. We don't have that right now. Everything has to have a level of profitability so the store stays sustainable, but we want to take care of our folks, and we want to take care of our community, and we want to educate, so we want to keep the prices low, but we also recognize that when you buy better products, there is a cost to that, right? We are not a big box store. We are not paying people in a faraway country, 5 cents an hour for their, labor at 20 hours a day. That's not who we are. You try to do better at every level. It's not just about the packaging, the plastics, the ingredients, but it's about the whole process, how things get here, who's creating that, is it ethically sourced, all those things. And we're not perfect. We're not perfect. I'm sure there's something in here that's not quite right, but we try really hard.
So, I'm looking around this store and I see, for a smaller space, there are quite a few choices you have. Yeah. And I'm looking across the way and I see also the tubs and the drums and the refills. Help me understand, what are you putting on your shelves? What are some of these products? And if I was to come in for, let's say, laundry detergent, what do I need to bring as a customer?
So the one thing we don't have is food. I would love to change that. So that is on our list. It's on my bucket list. We have a lot of upcycled materials for the things that I make, going back to our roots. So I make lots of everyday napkins, bags, and wipes. But we have things that are all your cleaning supplies, all your personal care, beauty care, makeup. So that's, toothbrushes, toothpaste tablets, face wash, blush, etc. We have a small baby section because we want to have things like plastic-free bottles and organic pajamas and wooden teethers and things that aren't plastic so that people have healthy choices. We have lots of stuff for food storage because we don't store our food in plastic. When I say things that are like absolutes, don't. Yes, if you open my fridge, you're going to find a little plastic. In fact, my refrigerator is plastic inside, right? It's a plastic piece of appliance. But you won't find saran wrap and Tupperware and all that. Just cleaners that are better choices, lots of shampoos, conditioners. And yes, they're stored in plastic here. It's really impossible in this society that we live in to have laundry detergent liquid and liquid shampoo come in anything other than plastic. It just, if you want it in quantities at a reasonable price, you can't do liquids without plastic. So there's going to be some plastic, but our goal is to be reusing that. So all of our 30 and 55 gallon drums and most of our 5 gallons go back for refill, cleaned, sanitized, refilled, and back and forth, and back and forth. So you can bring any container. If you go to your recycling bin, pull out that pasta sauce jar. It's a great jar for all kinds of things. We don't recommend it for your shower, for shampoo, and it's a little hard to get lotion out of sometimes, but...
I made that mistake once. I decided to bring my mason jar and it slipped, and next thing I knew, I had to clean up glass. So there are other solutions, but thank you for pointing that out. That is also...
So it's funny because sometimes people get those kind of ideas in their head and they come in and they're like, oh, I've got a mason jar for some conditioner. And I usually say, is that really what you want to do? And we kind of talk about how they're going to use it. So with conditioner, it's thick. You got to pump it out. So you need a pump. We never recommend people bring glass into their shower. And occasionally people are like, I'm totally going to do it. And I usually say to them, okay, we'll support you, but somebody in your household or you yourself are going to question it, and you're going to be back here for the aluminum bottle. So just something you want to think about, and they usually switch, right? So we don't have a lot of people that do glass in the shower. We try to help people from making the mistakes that we've seen over and over again. We spend a lot of time with customers. We talk to them about what their needs are, what they're looking for, and we spend time. But for all the liquids we have in the store, for almost every liquid, there is a powder or a bar solution. And why is that better? Better because no preservatives, less ingredients, and no water weight being shipped around. So, that when you get to be really eco, those are the kind of choices you make. I haven't used a liquid shampoo in years, and I do fine. We have an amazing shampoo bar. So when you bring a container in, anything is fine. Glass is fine, plastic is fine. For people who want liquid laundry detergent, that old Tide jug has a great reuse by refilling it. And we help you to make sure that on the lid you can see how much you need. We make sure we calibrate it for you. So yeah, you can bring anything in you like. It gets weighed on a scale, so we know the weight of your container, whether it be a bag, a glass jar, a paper container, a jug, etc. And then fills with product, and then it gets reweighed, and we know how much you bought.
Terrific.
Yeah. And if you can get all your containers, we sell containers, we give some away, and we have bags.
One of the things you mentioned was the baby bottle.
Yes.
And of course, it just so happens I've got here.
Awesome.
Explain to me, because moms are probably thinking, what do you mean no plastic baby bottle? And I've always said, a thing to think about is what do we often see is that moms are taking plastic baby bottles and either heating them up in hot water or in the microwave, and the plastic, right, has to leach. What's the solution?
All right, so here's the really scary fact. There was a study done, and they looked at how many micro and nanoplastics were coming off baby bottles when they were plastic. And it was in the, 1 million plus per day. And what's happening is, right, so babies feed multiple times, and those plastic bottles have to be sterilized. Glass does not need sterilization because it's a different product, whereas plastic does. So they're sterilizing the bottles multiple times a day, and then they're heating the milk in the bottles. So all of that heating is causing those micro and nanoplastics to come off. So that's where the 1 million plus microplastics are coming from in the baby bottles. And glass sounds really scary, but it's not. It's fabulous. So, and by the way, I fed my babies out of plastic. The Playtex has these little plastic bags when you're freezing milk, and that's what I used. So if you use the wrong things, don't stress. To me, it's about making changes on a go-forward basis and doing better when you know better. And so the facts are scary, but my kids will not be feeding their babies with plastic bottles. So this is a regular mason jar that most of us have or could thrift or buy at the hardware store. And then you get this little kit, and so it's got a sleeve. So this is kind of a tight fit, and it really helps for the durability. But I've dropped mason jars a lot and rarely break them. So this is a great way to cover it. You can see the amount. It's a silicone nipple that goes right on into the ring. And that is that. And then it does come with a plastic cover because sometimes you just want to keep it a little bit cleaner. And that's it.
Wow.
The thing is, this grows with the baby. So when you stop bottle feeding, you can use the jar for baby food. It's really fabulous. And when the child starts going to daycare, we have stainless steel bottles that fit this system. And there's also a silicone version. So there's so many choices out there that aren't plastic that it's easy.
That's amazing. Now, through the power of editing, these are going to disappear like that. You mentioned before the social media and using it as not just a marketing tool for sales, but also an educational tool. You also, I believe, do educational programs right here in the store. And you do, I think I read some breakfasts on occasion or evenings, and you're also giving back. You're giving proceeds to an organization for feeding hungry individuals.
Yeah.
Tell us about the education component and the giving component.
Sure. A friend of mine, customer that became friend, gave me a book called The Carbon Almanac. It's fabulous. It's all these little short snippets of how to make positive change. And one of them talked about the power of social media and sharing of information, the power of information. And so it sort of said, this idea that we're trying to just reduce so much that even in our electronic communications, we kind of step back and unsubscribe from everything isn't always a good thing either. Because I think that things like following the Ripple Center, Ripple on the Road, Sustainable House, foragers and wellness people. There are so many people that we can follow, and if you find people that you trust and can learn from, it's actually a really amazing place. So I think in my corporate life, I couldn't have imagined spending time on social media, and now I couldn't imagine not. I learn stuff every day from others on social media, and that's not to say that I learn it, trust it, and go blindly forward. I do my research. I spend a lot of time researching every day, but it gives me the ideas and the information to go ahead and learn more. And so we do a lot of that in the store. If you come in, we spend as much time with you as you need. We'll talk about any of the products and solutions. And we do the same on social media. We have breakfast. We do sustainability talks. You get to meet like-minded people. It is a plant-based meal that you get, and all locally made, zero waste. We don't use any plastic dishes, no throwaway napkins. We wash and sanitize it all. And it's just a chance to really share information, because not everybody can watch all the social media and get it that way, so we get to kind of condense it. And we try to do that in fun ways. The most recent thing, we made smudge sticks. I literally foraged the materials that morning from the property here and across the way. I got some pine. And we made smudge sticks. We made lavender and flax eye pillows. And it was really fun. And we talked a lot about greenwashing and laundry detergent in that particular session. And I think everybody came away having learned something, and everybody was willing to make more changes. I think most people want to make changes. First of all, most people believe that there is climate change and that we have to do better by the planet. Almost everybody universally agrees with that. A very small percentage. I think I read in the Carbon Almanac that 99.5% of scientists believe in this, right? So most of the population does, but they don't know where to start, and that's where the greenwashing comes in. And I think you start by trusting in the people around you, your family, your friends, your community, stores like us, and you learn from each other. And it's amazing the kinds of things that people will try. We have a rock crystal deodorant. It's $5. It lasts for years. 98% of the people love it. Shampoo bars. I could sell a shampoo bar to anyone. And by the way, the conditioner bars are great for beards. And I mean, it's just, when I talk about it and explain how it works, and when the team talks about it and explains how it works, people are willing to try it. And now they get a product that has little to no toxins, ingredients you can understand, none of the bad things, right? No phthalates. We're just really against phthalates and bisphenols. And it's not that hard, just one step. And then what happens is they come in the next time and they're like, well, I really like this. And we're like, oh, have you tried a safety razor? What do you use for your laundry detergent? How do you clean your counters? Have you tried this, Meliora little soap sticks to clean your counters? I mean, it's $5, you get 3 bottles of counter cleaner, right? Like, that's just such a win. And people they try it and they're like, I love it, right? And then they're like, what else do you have? So that's kind of how it works.
And your giving partner?
So we're working on a partnership with Grace. Grace is giving and receiving assistance for community essentials here in Summit. They used to say they feed 500 families every week, and they just hit a new record of like 600. So their number one need is laundry detergent, and so we are starting a fundraiser with them to raise money, and we're essentially doing a match through a discounted laundry detergent. And we're going to give people who really need laundry detergent. Kids want clean clothes when they go to school. They don't just want food, but they need a few other essentials. So we are looking to get up to 600 families some laundry detergent so that they can feel better.
That's great.
And it's not going to be a failing grade rated product that gets shipped across the country from long distances in plastic containers. It's going to be one that's better for their skin, better for our water, all locally made. I mean, it's just like a win on every level. Yeah. But we also give to other, our goal is to be like a B Corp, but not a B Corp. We give to local charities, and clearly I've mentioned the Greater Newark Conservancy, that's a big one, and we want to make a difference.
Great. So, final question.
Yeah.
We started with kind of where you came from and some of the values that you've carried with you. What is your hope? What's your vision for the future and the system that you're helping to disrupt to do it?
This is going to sound crazy because I really wanted a small local store as part of a community where I could change a community. I wasn't looking to change the world or the planet or the country or the state. I wanted to change the neighboring towns. I wanted to change the way people did things. Why? Because I thought that if we created more people locally that cared about their health and the health of the planet, they'd start by buying a green laundry detergent, and they'd move to signing a petition for a bag ban, and they'd start to reach out to their legislators about better choices, better products, better laws, better regulations, and then we'd all collectively make those big changes. So in the Carbon Almanac, they talk about the little things you can do. Recycling, that's a really little thing. And we focus a lot on it. But it's how people start, and it's how they can connect with you, and then they move towards other things, and then they move towards advocacy and bigger changes. But the more, and this is the first time I'm sort of saying this, the more that I have done with social media, the more that I really want that to grow as well. And not just because people buy from us. I get people that comment all the time from far, far away. And people will say, I'm in California. How can it be helpful if I comment on your social media? Well, it's helpful because it gets seen by more people, right? And so the more we have a bigger impact. And we are never going to be the account that just sells product. We're the account that is teaching why those products are better and how to use them so that people become more educated. And you'll see us sprinkle in. I did a post on my commute. I get to drive through Watchung Reservation. I drive my hybrid electric vehicle, all electric miles. It's powered at my house, which has alternate energy power from community solar. And, it just feels good. Those are small steps you can take. I'm a Green Team member in Westfield, and we promote the EV car show. We promote that it's not just a car show, but it's also EV cars, garden equipment, and bicycles. And we have a big Earth Day event. We have a big free market. We have a tour to Westfield, a bike tour. We're working on so many things, and all those changes at a community level make our town of Westfield, where I live, better. And similar things happen in the town of Summit that make it better. And the more people that care and make things better, it just has a ripple effect. Right? And that's what we're here to do, and social media helps with that.
I was going to say, as a shameless plug, it sounds like you and Sustainable House and everybody affiliated with it is the Ripple Center, and it's carrying out into the communities, and that's a wonderful goal to have.
We are twins. We are Ripple Centers.
Love it. On that note, thank you so much for your time, for allowing me to take a peek at this beautiful place and share it with others, and just, keep up the great work with not just what you're offering in terms of product, but in terms of education.
Thank you, and I look forward to continuing to work together. I know our paths will continue to cross with various projects.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jeanette.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
All right.